Hello EDU 1107 students, my name is Elizabeth and I will be presenting today on Piaget's cognitive and language development. Our learning goals today are I can identify who Jean Piaget is and understand his contributions to the study of child and adolescent development. I can classify the 4 stages of cognitive development that children go through according to Piaget. I can analyze how Piaget's cognitive and language development discoveries can relate to students that may come through the classroom. A little history on Jean Piaget. He was born in Neuchâtel, Switzerland on August of 1896. He studied zoology and philosophy, receiving his doctorate in philosophy from the University of Neuchâtel in 1918. In 1919, his research in Paris was based on devising and administrating reading tests to school children. He became fascinated with the errors that children made and began a study that would influence psychology to this day. His discoveries led to his exploration of the reasoning processes of children. The theory. In Piaget's time, it was believed that children were little adults that had the ability to conduct adult reasoning. With his findings, Piaget was able to prove otherwise. According to him, the mind of the child evolves through a series of set stages to adulthood. Piaget argued for genetic epistemology, a timetable established by nature for the development of the child's ability to think. Epistemology is the study of nature, origin, and the limits of human knowledge. It was Piaget's belief that development was not controlled by the individual, but naturally developed. Piaget's stages of cognitive development. According to Piaget, there are 4 levels of development. Stage 1, sensory motor. Stage 2, pre-operational. Stage 3, concrete operational. Stage 4, formal operational. The previous mindset that children had the ability to conduct reasoning like adults was now concluded that children had to grow with their mind just as their bodies grew. Stage 1, sensory motor. This is from birth to 24 months. Children develop their understanding of the world through their 5 senses: sight, sound, taste, scent, and touch. They are aware of their bodies and are discovering what they are capable of through movement. This is why at this age, they tend to stick things in their mouth and are often wiggling around. At this point, the main development during the stage is called object permanence. Before object permanence is developed, a game like peekaboo would be very entertaining because before they develop object permanence, children don't believe objects exist unless they see it. So with the child's eyes being covered, they feel as if either they're not being seen or that the object in front of them does not apply until they open their eyes and they see it. The idea that objects exist, even if they cannot be seen, becomes relevant once object permanence is developed. At this point, early language develops as well, through about 18 to 24 months. This is a sign of symbolic abilities, being able to use symbols, not just letters, but the ideas of symbols to relate to words that have meaning. Stage 2, pre-operational. This is between the age of 2 to 7. During this stage, language use becomes more mature. Pretend play is more prominent with imagination, and the idea of egocentric thinking is present. Now, egocentric is not the same thing as arrogance. It is more along the lines of not being aware of their surroundings. An example would be when a child stands in front of the television. A child in the pre-operational stage doesn't understand that the people behind them aren't able to see the television because they're standing in front of them. They believe that because they can see, that everybody else can see, which isn't the case. Piaget believes that children could be categorized in the pre-operational stage by conducting an experiment called conservation. Conservation refers to logical thinking. So if a child can surpass the conservation experiment, then that means that they are going into the next stage, which is concrete operation. But if they can't pass this conservation experiment, then they stay in the pre-operational thought.
Can you look at these 2 glasses? Do you think that they have the same amount of juice? You think they have the same? Okay. Now we're going to pour this juice into this glass. Now, do you think that this glass has more juice, this glass has more juice, or do you think that they have the same amount?
That one has more.
This one has more, and why do you think that this one has more?
Because it's taller.
So first we're going to look at these two cups right here. Do you think there's the same amount of juice in this glass as there is in that glass?
They're even.
They're even? Okay. So we're going to take the juice from this glass and pour it into this one right here.
Okay.
Okay, so now we're going to look at this glass and that one. So do you think that there's more juice in this glass, more juice in this glass, or do you think that they have the same amount?
Same amount.
Okay, why do you think that they have the same amount?
Just because this is skinny doesn't mean it's not the same amount. It has the same amount of juice in it, but this one is just wider and this one's skinnier, but they have the same amount of juice in it.
Okay, you ready? Yeah. Okay. Does this row have more quarters? Does this row have more quarters, or do they have the same?
1, 2, 3. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're both the same.
They're the same?
5, 5.
Okay. Okay. Does this row have more quarters? Does this row have more, or do they have the same?
This one has more.
That one has more quarters?
Yeah.
Why does this row have more quarters?
Because it's more far away.
It's more far away?
Yeah, it's like more far away than like that. Looks like bigger.
All right, we're going to play a game with the graham crackers, and we're going to share them between me and you, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Do you think that we shared those fairly?
No.
No, why not?
You have those and I have this one.
Well, what if we try this? Okay, can I put this down right there?
Okay.
Now is it fair?
Yeah.
Yeah, why is it fair now?
Because we both have two.
Stage 3, concrete operational. This stage happens around the ages of 7 to 11. The previous video gave examples of children who had not quite developed concrete logic with the water, quarters, and graham crackers. The one child that was able to determine that although the glasses are different sizes, the volume of the liquid does not change, has reached concrete operational development. It is at this age children are developing more concrete reasonings. One such development is a concept of math. Logically, at this stage, if children are reaching concrete operational development, they can determine that 8 plus 4 equals 12, which alternatively means that 12 minus 4 equals 8. Stage 4, formal operational. In the formal operational stage, children have now reached their adolescence. They think more abstract, have higher moral reasonings, and have completed their final stage of cognitive development. Although Piaget was adamant that the formal operational stage was the final stage of cognitive development, he believed people were lifelong intellectual developers that depended on the accumulation of knowledge over a lifetime. Conclusion. Although we know that development varies from child to child, Piaget suggests that the order of development does not change, that all children must go through each stage in order: sensory motor, pre-operational, concrete operational, and lastly, formal operational. As educators, when we look at our students, how does Piaget's theory of cognitive and language development make us see our students differently? I hope we can see how our students' cognitive abilities are not really under their control. It is important to see how influential educators are to our growing youth, especially in the primary and early secondary years. As I end this lesson, I'd like to leave you a few things to think about. According to Piaget, we may be encountering our students during a particular stage of their cognitive development. How might students developing during different time periods affect learning abilities, behaviors, and thinking? How can we adapt to the different stages our students may be in? How can we impact development during these influential stages for the better?